I'm super excited listening to the previous speakers about the problems that are being addressed. I believe that we have tried to develop a technology platform that is going to give society the opportunity to revitalize. The vision that our business has is to save the oceans, planet, and ourselves. I think it's very clear after listening to the previous speakers that without the oceans, there is no planet and there is no us. And I think for centuries, people have totally undervalued the power and importance of the oceans. The mission of our company is a small one. We are raising $500 billion to build 2,500 reefs of 50 square kilometers each, the size of New Zealand, trying to absorb all the excess carbon that is being produced today on a daily basis as blue carbon in an as naturally as possible way. When you listen to that task and when you think about the amount that we need to do this, it sounds impossible. But I think it's totally possible because the global ocean economy, as previously mentioned, could be classified as the sixth or seventh GDP on this planet, representing $31 trillion. So we only need 1.6% of that 31 trillion over a period of 10 years. So it's only 0.16% of the global ocean economy to achieve our target. What are we planning to do? We are planning to build a gigantic ocean ecosystem with NGOs, charities, multinationals, FMCGs, governments, to build these engineered reef areas. We call it an ocean backbone platform. What many people don't realize is that 50% of the natural coral reefs on the planet already have been destroyed. And coral reefs are responsible for 25% of the global marine biomass on the planet. 60% of the global population depend entirely on their food sources coming from the oceans, for example. The global population is exploding. The reef density is depleting. So we are seeing developments here that are killing the vital life systems on this planet. Now, for us to be successful in achieving this, we need to measure and understand what we are doing. Some people briefly spoke, I think it was Ruben, about the three musketeers that are trying to build a new planet Earth on Mars with trillions of dollars sending rockets into space. We have many companies at the moment booming, turning into multi-billion-dollar companies building satellite networks. Starlink, Planet Labs, and Spire, for example. What we are planning to build is a non-intrusive subaquatic ocean satellite network called Blue Box, together with our reef installations, where we are going to measure in real time a variety of ocean parameters in a global grid, in a global network. We will use edge computing units underwater with technologies that have been used for decades in the oil and gas industry, where we are going to measure visibility, we are going to record live footage from underwater, we are going to measure pH, salinity, temperature, nutrients, free oxygen, carbon, etc., etc. And all this data we are going to stream in real time into the cloud to get a real-time picture of what is happening underwater with the oceans. At the same time, we will use this technology platform to measure the efficiency of the sustainable reef concessions that we are going to develop to make sure that we understand how the oceans are evolving, how the ecosystems are either thriving or declining, trying to find out as soon as possible what the root cause problems are of these factors. Our business model is entirely based upon the capitalistic principles. I myself have worked for decades for multinationals in different types of industry sectors. And I believe that sustainability has to go hand in hand with profitability. If we can develop systems and platforms and technologies that are generating income and profit, I think there are no limits to the impact that we can have. In our strategy, we are not going to do this alone. We are going to do this with thousands of partners. We already have MOUs in place with companies like IBM, Microsoft, and some other very, very big players that are helping us to build the technology platform that we need. We have agreements in place with companies that are specialized in offshore deployment of infrastructure underwater, etc., etc. Our technology, together with the Blue Box platform, will be capable to help us to better predict weather patterns, disasters. We will be able to monitor ecosystems. We are going to deploy underwater laboratories for science and scientific purposes to help welfare on this planet, not only underwater, but also on land. We will have opportunities in the Blue Box platform for monitoring. So we can rapidly discover if certain entities are entering protected areas, fishing in zones that are not allowed to be fished in. And we will be able to identify, to connect with the IFCN, where many fish species, for example, are born. Where are they coming from? How do they move into the greater, wider ocean when they become mature? Yeah, this is just a sample of examples of applications and service and product opportunities that we are developing. Part of our commercial model is 100% based upon blue carbon trading in a blockchain secured platform where we are going to develop an economy in the regulated carbon trading market. We are engaging with the EU on the regulated carbon trading market, and that will become a big source of financing for the Reef installations that we are going to build, for example. Another example that Ruben touched upon was virtual tourism. A few years ago, I did a couple of virtual scuba dives in Singapore with VR goggles and special gloves. I'm a scuba instructor myself, so I dive a lot in real life, but I also was able to dive virtually. Now, there's only about 50 million scuba divers on the planet, and we have 7.8 billion people. What we can do with our technology is bring live imagery into living rooms of people, where they will have the opportunity to go scuba diving, even those people that can't swim and that are afraid to get wet. We believe that when we can connect people with the subaquatic life in a real-time way, it will increase society's attachment with subaquatic ecosystems. It will generate a plethora of commercial opportunities that we can bring to society that will enable us to continue investing in the reef concession areas that we are developing. And to give it a little bit more of imagination here, we have about 400 different designs of reef modules. These modules that we are showing here are Atlantic basic wave modules that we developed for the Portuguese territory. To give you an idea, this module weighs about 55 tons or 55,000 kilograms. And it sizes roughly 5 by 5 by 5 meters. One reef installation will comprise of thousands, if not tens of thousands of these modules. The modules that we are developing are made out of an eco-geopolymer concrete, which is a concrete that uses residual waste streams that are totally non-toxic. And we don't use, for example, chemicals and iron or rebar for reinforcement. We only use natural materials to do that. The recipes that we have enable us to build structures up to 15 meters high. And What we are doing is we are using habitat modules that are specifically designed for certain species based upon the knowledge that we have around the behavior of octopuses, sardines, herrings, sharks, and many other species. So depending on the region where we are deploying a reef concession area, we will use specific morphologies and specific habitat modules to deploy our reef installations. Here we have a simple example for ecotourism. This is a scuba training reef. Personally, I believe that anybody that wants to learn how to scuba dive should learn it on an engineered reef and not on a natural reef until people are totally comfortable and well trained to do this. This in itself creates a huge blue economy opportunity. We have had far-going conversations, for example, with PADI, the Professional Association of Dive Instructors, where we believe that we can deploy these training reefs globally to get people connected with the oceans and to teach them in a safe way how to scuba dive. Which projects do we already have in the pipeline? We have gotten fantastic support and interest from the Portuguese government, from all the different relevant departments in Portugal, the DGPM, IPMA, DGRM. I've met the minister a few weeks ago to talk about the projects that we have in line. And at the moment, we are looking at a variety of pilot projects in Portugal. Comporta, which is south of the remote is very stubborn today. Yeah. Okay. Comporta, which is south of Lisbon, will have a 10,000 square meter pilot project where we will do R&D on the different morphologies and substrates that we have developed. It will be a permanent R&D test bed. Then we are going to build a similar one in Cascais, the city nearby Lisbon, which will be used for R&D as well, but also for scientific scuba diving and scuba dive training. We have been in various meetings here in Madeira to discuss potential reef areas together with the local government and Arditi, again, to test the technology and also to test substrates and morphologies. And we have two projects going on in Malaysia, one in Pulau Rawa and one in Seri Buat. And then on top of that, we have a variety of countries that we already have met to discuss similar projects to test our technology globally. Talking about financing, economy, and money, we have signed a term sheet with one private investor for $100 million US, just to give you an idea about the potential that this blue economy holds. And we believe that this whole organization is going to turn into a multi-billion-dollar enterprise, self-funded, giving life and habitats back to the oceans and creating a complete non-existent blue economy. That's it for now. Thank you.
Thanks, Jeroen. Can I just ask you just one brief question? And I thought that was absolutely fascinating. Thank you very much indeed for that presentation. Just one question. I mean, the model is, of course, a blue carbon trading model, ultimately, isn't it? So you're going to be using those reef structures as a way of understanding how to sequester carbon and so on and so forth. But my question is not so much about the trading aspect of it, but it's about the idea that, yes, we have done artificial reefs before. That's not unusual. But to do it at this scale is unusual.
Yes.
Is very unusual. And I wonder whether or not there has been any discussion about the scientific and the even ethical questions that sit there about effective carbon dioxide removal at scale through this kind of approach. Has that been a discussion that's gone on?
Yes, that's a very good question. We have established a independent, non-remunerated scientific board with doctors and professors to make sure that they support the direction of development that we are taking. We still have to do a lot of testing, obviously. So we don't preach that we already have an A to Z solution for everything. But the promising thing is that there's already about 30 sizable engineered reefs. I don't call them artificial because artificial for me is a little bit of a difficult word when it comes to the environment. There's nothing artificial about what we are going to do. The engineered reefs, there's already 30 big ones in Australia that have been in the water for 10 to 15 years at different locations. And these reefs have shown that complete desolated desert areas turn into underwater oases that attract flora and fauna, microalgae, macroalgae, kelp, and other carbon sequestering species. So our model is based upon that. So we will develop hubs with reefs. These reefs will attract life, and then in between the reef zones, we will repropagate seagrass and kelp areas, etc., etc. So we work together with partners when we develop reef concession areas.